Hi, everybody. This is Joanna. Hi. Rainbow hugs and kisses to everybody. Thank you so much for doing another park session. And I inspire all of you to move outside, play outside, connect with your local parks, your local communities. They're wonderful places to sit down and do some journaling and do some meditation. Lay your hands upon the earth and practice channeling Gaia, practice channeling the elementals and the fairies. I'm so happy to be with you here today. I've got my cool little hat, my traveling hat, and it's super sunny and warm out. And so we've got some wonderful surprises for you. We're so very happy. And I was looking in our recording yesterday. And always when I'm on my travels and when I'm outside working with Gaia, there's always things in the background that you'll see that are tapping into our loving energy to reach out and to become more, to express more, to be more of who we are. And there's many pictures that I've shared online on my YouTube, as well as little light ship videos and little consciousness videos that have gathered where I meet, and some beautiful I guess you would say paranormal videos, but I know what it is. It's energy, and it's the beings that are always with me, just popping up to share themselves with us in these beautiful times of sharing, because the veil is getting thinner. That's what we're going to talk about tonight, is our galactic celestial councils and beings, as we're getting closer to revealing the veils that have separated us between us and other worlds, preparing us for first contact, as many have been talking about for many years. And so it's getting closer and closer to becoming more favored in how we communicate and prepare ourselves multidimensionally, and why we talked about Gaia. Gaia is so important. And I'll give you 2 or 3 reasons. One is Gaia will be moving through some shifts in many ways, whether it's water, air, whether it's through the shaking of the earth and the plates of the earth. The topography will be moving and shifting as we're moving into these new bathing of higher vibrational light that is being given by many councils and groups from around the galaxy. As the consciousness on our planet raises, and as you take time every day to clear out your fields through the simple clearing of your body, the clearing of your fields through intention, and carrying yourself in greater light, carrying yourself in greater harmony and excitement, you give yourself that opportunity to also call in that greater light for processing and integrating through the multidimensional fields of intelligence. And they're showing me right now, and I didn't bring my illustrations with me, the earth, if you will, and then there's sheaths of vibrations and energies that the trees put off, that the earth puts off. And there's so much information and wisdom that comes within those sheaths, and many of us can pick up on those informations and downloads that we can just begin channeling. So I really inspire all of you, if you've always had a love for Gaia, if you've always loved being outside and playing outside, remember those inner child experiences, because that's exactly how you manifest your new gifts in new ways. And it's just really simple intentions, but playing with it in different ways. Maybe it's holding different leaves or different things of Gaia's offerings and just tuning into the energy. You may, as we said yesterday, be feeling the information as a storybook or a download, which is a lot of information that the mind will try and wrap itself around. And to get used to not necessarily processing, because when you're channeling, it's just a matter, you understand the downloads there, and it's just a matter of offering it forward and whatever words come forward. So that's the allowance part, and not questioning it. That's getting your ego out of the way and just trusting what you're being downloaded, and then processing it to move it through your body. That's energy that's being downloaded for you to move it through your body, and trust the words that you're given, even though you might not know what they mean. That's how you know that you're channeling as well. And the councils will always give you words like that, so that you're validating that it's not coming from your ego mind, if you will, and you're actually downloading the information from higher vibrational sources. And so those are all practices that you can do while you're practicing your new gifts and skills intuitively and extraterrestrially, because most of our extraterrestrial beings that are going to be with us in this transition, many of them will be helping us connect with Gaia and work with Gaia in unique and different ways. So it requires that we practice. Again, we begin practicing being unknown. We step into the unknown, and then we practice being the unknown, and that unknown becomes then known. And we give ourselves these new words, and we give ourselves these new practices, and we give ourselves these new ways to explore our planet that was different yesterday, but now it's all new and fun and exploring it that way. And so as this earth changes and as our planet changes in many different ways, whether we see these changes dynamically happening in water and air, whether it's an earthquake or a tsunami, whatever these are, in smaller proportions, because Gaia and God and all of the beings that are with us on this planet, their intention is always done at the highest level of honoring for every soul involved. Every soul chooses what to be involved with for various reasons of teaching and soul lessons and soul growth, as well as always to Gaia's number one priority is to harm as few as possible and to have as little damage as possible. But there are always things for us to keep in mind without being fearful at all, but just knowing that you'll be led to exactly where you need to be led and why. So just know that there's always that trusting experience within these beautiful earthly vibrational shifts. And so what they were showing me, so those are some of the reasons why we want to be connected with our planet. Not only is it going to open and awaken and activate our extraterrestrial, it's like a process, like a computer. We have to clear away the density of these new communication pathways, synaptic pathways of how we used to communicate to one another is now going to be heightened because we're now tapping into vibrationally, interdimensionally energies that are unusual to us. So always when you're doing your practice work and you're working with Gaia, different vibrational energies, different groups of consciousness, ground yourself and intend the highest benevolence first, so that way you're calling in the highest levels of benevolence, and you're also calling in your soul's guides, your soul's teams, as well as Lord Michael or any angels to protect you in that communication process, to ensure that you're connecting with the vibrations that you want to. Always making sure you're clearing first before you channel. Otherwise, you're going to be channeling the energies of what you're holding. So that's always a good tip. And if you want private sessions for tapping into Gaia, the biosphere, for you that are vocational healers and teachers of Gaia, or you're wanting to teach in new ways and offer new vibrational classes with Gaia, just book a session with me. I have sessions of vocational alignments that are 4 sessions in length, and they're 90-minute sessions. I can't remember how many, 45-minute sessions for 4 sessions. I can't remember, but I've got a download sheet for those of you that are interested. And they really do help. They help you build on the skills of where you're at, and then they help you break any boundaries or barriers that you have or beliefs that you have about how you communicate with interdimensional, extraterrestrial, celestial, cosmic, galactic, Gaia energies, any energies that is consciousness that is not in matter form, if you will, or that we can't see, if you will, because it's all breaking boundaries and barriers. But we all have these gifts. We've all come to practice these gifts. And why it's kind of pointless and it's really mute if you try and copy or mimic somebody else, because you have gifts that are far beyond what anybody really has. In your soul's Akash and your soul's toolkit is not like any others. So you're going to speak a light language unlike any others. You're going to speak a Gaia language like any other. And it's meant to be that way. I'm meant to only inspire a template and have others jump from and have others create from. And so that is the offering of every conduit, of every light language speaker, is to simply offer a template for the inspiration to be of the way shower. We're meant to show that there's other ways and higher vibrational ways for us to communicate and for us to engage with our planet in a very healing and benevolent, loving way. So we're so excited. But I have some really exciting news. So those are reasons why we're wanting to connect with Gaia, and more is to bring peace to the planet and soothe out those moments of purging, if you will, because the collective is purging in their awakening. When their chakras begin to open, especially the root chakra, which is all based on fear and control. And in that, Gaia is being a part of that conduit to help move the energies. And so sometimes that does cause topographical changes, whether it be an earthquake or small earthquake or water or air, again, fires, things like that are ways that we're purging energy as a collective so that very few are harmed or injured. And there's always a higher design and plan and elegant systems. And we're gonna show you, which we've talked about for so many years, and what my second book was about is about the beauty of all of these beautiful systems that we live within, that we exist within, that is God's beautiful plan to bring so many beings of consciousness. And I'm so excited to help us and to know that we're always supported in any way that we're really excited to create and play. And I've always known it because I've had a deep connection with Gaia. And I'm very, very excited. Part of my story is to feel greater comfort in who I am as, many would have noted and seemed, and those are only my perspectives, because I always felt as if how others looked at me and how others saw me was quite strange when I would be my full self. And so then I started to retract, and I started to call myself in and return my energy back within, because it was so unusual for others to be around. And that was normal. But when you're so young, you don't understand those things of why you feel so triggered to be a part of what your inner world is telling you to be, and others are not accepting that, or strangely unaccepting of it, because they didn't never experience the expressiveness of someone that's fully connected with spirit, of the expressiveness of someone that's fully connected with fairies, or can see things that others don't, or can predict things that others can't. And so that's part of the growing up process, and being mature in your own body and being mature in your own spirituality, and sorting through all those beliefs and limitations and lack. And what beliefs did you hold on to in stories that are not yours, that you can just send away and heal? And that's part of that inner self design, where you're not taking the stories of your lineage, you're not taking the stories of your childhood, but you're actually rewriting it right from scratch so that it serves you. And that's what we're going to talk about today, is not only it's the foundation of becoming unknown, and allowing all of those parts of you that you left out, and those unknown parts of you that were shut down, and those parts of you that were unexpressed or limited or holding back. Many of us feel that our divine crystalline children, many children feel like this now, because the systems that are our world systems absolutely don't honor the sacredness and the creativity and the uniqueness of these children. So they're not able to live in their full authenticity. Some are doing it, but most often than not, they're shut down because of the uniqueness of their ability to communicate. And some is known and seen that we've diagnosed, I guess, if you will, high functioning autism, which I have autism that is within the strain of my DNA, in the way that I can function with sound and with vibrations and sensitivities that are beyond, what others around me are able to. And I'm able to function. However, as I'm being activated more and more and more, it's becoming more and more important for me to really, really ensure I'm having enough rest time, really ensure that I'm being around calming and supportive, loving energies like Gaia, so that I can continue my work in various ways. So we don't necessarily say in the celestial ET that it's autism. It's just a high functioning sensory system, an ability to communicate in different ways, which autistic children do. They can sense vibrations of sound and light, even beings, and why they need to shut the world down sometimes and have that, the headphones to shut out noise and release distractions. And we've kind of done it some damage, because now our world is so used to the electronic devices, and all of our energy and attention is going into these devices and not necessarily feeding who we are within. And so that's been really wonderful to create with these devices and to create these electronics experiences. But now we're learning how to create the electronic experiences that are allowing us to return back within, because that's how we end up feeding and nourishing and expanding the beyond. God is beyond as we are. It's not wrapped up in a box or a religion or a book. We are beyond the beyond. We are micro, macro spirit. We have access to our DNA that is expansive. The DNA is also a part speaking in the innate. The innate I've called the motherboard. The innate is the motherboard to how you can maneuver and navigate and be the commandmentship of all that you are as a multidimensional being. Meaning that motherboard connects all that you are as the physical human, which is still spirit. Your body, your matter is spirit. My cells are spirit. My cells have a membrane that speaks with spirit, that is spirit. That essence of spirit is in all things. The DNA is absolutely all that you are as a being, and your genetic inheritance. It is, and we say genetic inheritance as multidimensional, not as where your parents came from. Yes and no, primarily on a smaller fraction of where your parents come from. But you have access to rewrite those codes and not take on the beliefs that you did and your parents did and their parents did. We say genetic inheritance of a multidimensional inheritance. Who are you? Sirian, Pleiadian, Orion, Lyran, Andromedan, the light keepers, the creators, source creator. And they're They're finding more and more dynamic intelligence within membranes, within space between space. And that space between space is the omnipresence, is the essence. There's more empty space within all that we are than anything. And so in that empty space, there's a lot of malleability that we have to practice and play with. That omnipresence is playing with us as entanglement as we observe it and create it. So this is just what is really reality and who are you within it? Those are really important questions to go beyond the beyond and be different and be unknown. Those of us that are conduits didn't really have any words or were taught any of these things, but we just played with the environment because we knew it reacted with us. We felt it, we sensed it, we saw it, we felt it at a deep level. We brought these gifts forward to practice and play within, and then we end up to be conformed into a smaller, limited expression and version of who we are, just as we are limited versions of God, micro, macro, just as if we're limited versions of our Pleiadian aspects, because they're living in a higher vibration where it's purely self-love and self-creation. And so all is about our dimensionality of self-acceptance. Every vibration is a level of creative offering. Every vibrational bandwidth is a level of creative offering. And in that creative offering, we have free will to choose to be vibrationally creative within this third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth. We have access to as many dimensions genetically through our DNA that we are able to express within and explore within and go beyond. The more that we are able to go beyond, as they told me a little while ago in that channel, is that your teams and God has always promised you, there will be the infinite offered to you eternally and unendingly if you choose to seek it. The elevator is always there, but we have to get in and push the button. We have to meet spirit halfway. And there is within the DNA, your teams and your soul and your higher self and God is always playing and harmonizing and upgrading and synthesizing and smoothing and soothing the vibrational multidimensional aspects of all that you are, physical, mental, emotional, etheric, spiritual, your Merkaba, your DNA, as to where are you at in your ascension cycle? Are you being privy to releasing any densities? Are you keeping on top of just releasing and letting go every day? Dealing with those triggers and inner wounds and releasing that and letting go? Redefining yourself, rewriting yourself, creating, having fun, having fun. Who are you in that creative expression? The more fun and joy you have as a creative expression, see, I'm clearing, the more that you have fun in that creative expression and just being who you are, that beautiful sacred expression of who you are, you're automatically clearing the densities that have been held. Oh, I can't do that. I shouldn't say that. It's too weird if I say that. They won't understand me. It's too weird if I do that. They won't understand me. Whereas just doing it and being it creatively and with joy, you're allowing all of those inner aspects to be rewoven in harmony. And that therefore allows your teams and the ones that you come with, your higher self, your soul, and all the beings that are accessing and activating your DNA for you and you it, because it's your work that you're doing to activate that DNA. Nothing gets by your guides, nothing gets by your higher self, because it's all you, just fractals of you. Your guides and your higher self and your soul and your healing teams and God is with you, every cell. God knows what cell's working, what cells are not working. And your communication with God, your communication with your innate, your motherboard, your communication with your Merkaba, your communication with your DNA, your communication with your skin and your bones and your body, your communication with Gaia, your entanglement and enhancement in all aspects of life is allowing you that higher vibrational awareness and that creative access point to be more fully you, to express more fully you, to live within that authentic, unapologetic, no bars hold anymore. And that's really what being in the unknown is, because we've been conformed out of that unique expression through our own choosing, through our own, healing of our lineage curses, where women had to be suppressed and women and children had to be suppressed. And we're rewriting that script. Divine Feminine is now being brought back into the human creational story. We're important leaders. We're important wisdom keepers. We're important healers. And we have many great wisdoms, as do everybody and the children now. And we should be paying great heed to these wonderful, beautiful things that are outside the ordinary. That's why we're here. So never, ever try to copy or mimic anybody. Your gifts are truly, truly unique. You're like that fractal on that beautiful rainbow spectrum that is unlike any other being or any other color, and you're meant to express yourself as fully as possible. And then when you're doing videos of yourself in parks, and you're going to see light ships in the background and these strange and wonderful objects that are wanting to come in and tangle with you because you're so open to who you are. You're in love with who you are. Many times over the years, as many light workers, we're so outer focused right from the moment that we're born. And we're relearning to recall that energy back, rethread it back, releasing that focus on the outer and really returning it in. That's how you redesign and rewrite yourself. That's the self-divine design. You're now creating that self of awareness, that Christed self. What was, you're creating new. What was, you're creating new. What was, you're creating new. And that is the infinite and eternal gift Spirit offers you. It's offered in the multidimensional way, and Spirit has always promised you. You will have the genetic support as far as you want to go. And you are that eternal. And that's what Jesus spoke of. That's what the masters speak of. You are eternally supported in any way. Nothing is beyond impossible. Your Merkaba speaks with your DNA. If you allow that conduit, that communication experience to take place, you're the commander of it. If you're intending, my Merkaba and my innate are speaking with each other. I'm aligning all that I am as a soul. Breath in. I'm aligning all that I am as a spirit. Breath in, and have that breath bathe and cleanse your chakras. Breath in. Breath in. Breath in. Call in all that you are as a spirit, as a soul. You are your own guide. You're now calling in the vibrational awareness that your Merkaba is alive and well. It speaks to you. Your aura is speaking. Your aura is alive. Your aura speaks with creation. Your aura speaks with the trees. When you walk by the trees, Gaia knows. The trees feel you. When you're feeling upset or angry or sad, go into a forest. And that's what forest bathing is all about. It's about that healing process between all life. And there are absolutely energetic and quantum and physical manifestations and healing properties that occur when you're with nature and Gaia. And those are studies that are being done now. Many books out there on forest bathing. So pick one up if you're interested. Very fascinating. I'm reading a book right now by a wonderful author. And it's about the communication that trees, he's in the many studies and the many years that he's been working with trees and forests, he's recognized a communication system that many trees have and how they're so symbiotic with one another. They understand one another from the roots to the branches and what their roles with one another are. It's a very sacred community, and they're far more intelligent than we've ever thought or given credit to, but it is alive, it's sacred, it's intelligent. And they're there for the communion, the symbiotic communion that we have to offer ourselves within it. So really play and have fun. But part of my sacred journey is to really let go and be the fullest expression of me as the queen of light that I am, coming here from many, many heavens, many expressions from many worlds and many universes, to feel confident and loving in who I am. I'm absolutely feeling more and more in love with who I am. And in that expression of who I am, I get to inspire others, regardless of the challenge, regardless of the traumas. You all have access to feel more into the sacred love of who you are, the sacred beingness of who you are, and start expressing it and exploring it in really sacred, creative ways that are unique for you, meant to be unique, simply by being you authentically, really gently and authentically. There's no need to try. There's no need to go outside and, force yourself to be strange and wonderful. Just soak within the authenticity of who am I today and how may I express this beautiful sharing. Take yourself outside the box and allow yourself to know that it helps the world heal, and you're setting a beautiful example for others to be that beautiful sacred joy, that sacred child that you are as an expression. It is the creative expression that heals, just as breath is the initiator of centering, of healing, of reigniting the cells, of reigniting the inner body, the inner realm, of calling in commandment to the Merkaba, to your innate, to your own authority over who you are as a multidimensional being with God as God. And so too is your intentions and affirmations. And those are the highest vibrational healers that you can accommodate yourself to and with through healing, through daily practice of clearing and cleansing, through daily intention setting of who are you in this moment and how may you express creatively and how may you explore that expression. You're able to explore the deepest parts of you. And this is what this next phase will be about for me, is those deepest parts of me as a creative being, as that galactic celestial being that gets me so very excited. Those parts of me that I've missed so very much because of all the trauma over the past 5 years, I shut myself down because it was the imprints and the damage that was done was so profoundly traumatic to me. It was like a part of my soul was literally ripped out and taken, and I was lost. I didn't feel what I felt before. I didn't experience what I experienced as I used to with the celestial friends and family. And I asked God recently, I said, why would I have manifested something so horrible? Because for me, being the uniqueness of who I was and the vibration of who I was, feeling the uniqueness of all that I felt from the many beings and all over the universe, because that was my family. When I didn't feel like I fit here, I knew that I always had those vibrations of my galactic and celestial families that I could always feel. I always knew they were around me. But the traumas that I'd gone through the past 5 years, it was like someone had taken the strip of soul and the strip of light from within my entire system of sensing and ripped it out, and it was nowhere to be found. My role was to remind myself that that is always eternal and never goes out, and that spark of light, which is called the God seed cell, which everyone has, the God seed cell, and it's up to each to activate that God seed cell. And that is what activates the atom Avantine particles through a Kundalini awakening, or through those particles that move up the vibrational spine and pillar of light through your chakras, that activates chakras. When you have a chakra release, when you do have a chakra release, it's because of those atom Avantine particles that are pure coded light that are also activated from your DNA, from the heart chakra, from your pure intentions of asking and seeking change. And so we'll talk about that in a minute. Your pure intention is what activates atom Avantine particles. Your teams will activate atom Avantine particles if you are not actively seeking it, and you're not actively seeking your ascension, simply because the light we're being bathed with on the planet, without the planet, within the planet, how you're awakening in your sleep time and renewing yourself in sleep time, all is a systematic experience of ascension. And I wrote about this in my books, so you can feel free to get my books, and they're on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. There is a process of ascension, and it's very scientific. It's quantum. It is quantum mechanics. It is the spirit of science and the science of spirit, because God is all things. God is between space and in space. There's nothing that God is not. God is every aspect of sand and soil and flower and trees and all things in between. And that is our multidimensional awakening and communication that so many now are excited to explore. And that's why it's so important for us to be that uniqueness, and how we feel in our everyday, and how we're feeling through our traumas, to really release them and release ourselves from what dumbs us and numbs us. And that's taking ownership and advocacy for what is in our environment. What are we doing in our ingesting, if you will, that really shuts us down or suppresses us or puts us in limitation. From your physical, mental, emotional, and energetic or spiritual experience, it's up to each person to say, what spiritually am I doing or not doing that is limiting my creative expression? Who am I authentically? What does that deepest part of me want to express? And these are questions that one asks oneself in your daily self-care, going through the reflections of your dreams, going through the reflections of anything you're being triggered by and why. What beliefs are you holding? That's part of the inner work, and it's up to each person to do it. You can't move through an ascension without doing the inner work, which means facing your shadows, facing those triggers, and working through it, sussing it out. Why am I afraid to express this? What deepest part of me is wanting to come out and be expressed? Because that's what's needed in our world, is that deepest part of you. And they have been suppressed wounds. They have been memories from your childhood where you were scorned. They were memories in your childhood where you were teased. There were memories from your childhood where maybe you were abused. But those are those aspects that you are requiring yourself to call forward, and in a creative way, love it whole. Call it forward and sing it. This is my wound, and I'm singing it. My wounds have been around the suppression and the control, and that was my manifestation. I manifested that because there was fears inside of me for expressing my full self. And so I manifested I manifested those in my life that didn't want me to share myself or shine forward because it made them face themselves. Why weren't they being authentic? So those are those narcissistic empathic relationships that we all experience at some point in our lives. For those are the guilts and the shames and the insecurities or lack of sense of self that each person has and expresses through manifesting those relationships to say, well, no, I'm a free and liberated being. I'm going to express myself and who I am. I know who I am. I'm not falling into a story of less than or lack. Just because it's somebody else's story doesn't have to make it yours. And then you can choose sovereignly to navigate around such limiting relationships and co-creations. And that's stepping off the karmic wheel. But one must do the work to prepare yourself for each day. If I'm faced with this energetic vibrational experience, how may I navigate so that I am centered, so that I'm peaceful, so that I can speak in an appropriate way that is honoring of my soul? And many of us have been through so much trauma that there's been no teaching for us. There's been no guidance system. There's been no tools. Every crime that we commit against our own soul, whether it's through non-self-expression, whether it's through suppressing oneself in any way, physically, mentally, emotionally, sexually, or spiritually, or a way that's not done responsibly and a way that's not done maturely so that you're honoring all people involved and you're not harming the body or anybody else's. All of those things are a part of our self-discovery and becoming beyond the beyond, because we've been absolutely conformed to the opposite, to create degradation, to create lack of self-importance, or create our importance outside of us through programs of dogma, through programs of achievement, through programs of others' words or others' roles or others' observations more of us than we are. And those have been our conformities. Those have been our separations from spirit. So now we're recalling all that within us. We're recalling all of our importance within us. We're redesigning our self-importance. We're redesigning who we are as love. We're redesigning who we are as our own spiritual voice. And we're standing in it, not to be controlled by any other story or person. And they happen in very subtle ways. Those relationships that we get into and those people that do such things, they occur at a very subtle level. And it happens sometimes over years and years that these experiences take place. And slowly you lose your sense of self and you become so enmeshed in somebody else's story that you can't find your way out. And those that are empaths and very sensitive hearts and crystals, they find that quite often because those energies of the catalyst are drawn into them because they seek their light and they seek their stability. And then when they pull their energy away, those energies and those little molecules that used to have that light, they used to have that stability, now they don't know what to do because they've never been taught how to go within. They've never been taught how to nourish their body, their spirit, and their soul through spirit, because they've always seeked the outer gratification, the outer importance, the outer value. And that is what is meant by those lower vibrational energies through envy and jealous and greed, because they want what they think that somebody else has, but it's really all within. It's just feeding yourself and nourishing yourself in the spiritual way. And who are you as spirit? You don't need anything outside of you or to be defined by anything or anyone. And you certainly don't need to be in destructive, dysfunctional relationships that take from you and change who you are or alter you to a version of less than, just to suit somebody's lack of sense of self. So those are all things that we learn, and it's all a part of the process. My personal story was so very traumatic. And I've moved through that victim experience, and I'm speaking so that I can be an inspirator and empower, because my role, part of that role and part of those lessons were, as God told me, was to know that I could do it, was to know that no matter how broken I might felt and no matter how disconnected I felt from spirit, that I would be able to connect with any person, no matter what they were going through, whether it be a drug addiction, whether it be living on the street, whether it be being disconnected from loved ones, whether it be going through great loss, being stolen from and taken from, disenfranchised and discriminated in every way, vibrationally and spiritually, emotionally neglected, and physically. When you're taking that much spiritual abuse and warfare that was going on for the direction for people to direct me, it was beyond ridiculous. When I'm my own sovereign being, and nobody and no one and no thing has consciousness direction over me. But there were those in the many realms and those in many worlds that felt they had authority over me and say over me, which were many eons of many spiritual wars and planetary wars that were going on within the vibrations of family lineages and vibrational timelines and dimensional timelines that we're all playing. That's why it's so important to know that your healing in this now moment, your authority to uniquely create who you are, is healing all of those timelines through which those expressions of control over you or of you, whether you were the controller or whether you were being controlled, are being healed. Because it's this now moment in your now expression, in your now consciousness that holds the greatest power. If it wasn't, you would be in the other body, in that body, taking on that story. But right now, the densest part of you must be healed, which is in this body right now, because it is in this density creation. It's in this density dimension. So that means that there is the deepest part of you that is requiring to release what you know about control, to call yourself in on a different story, a different character, and begin redesigning yourself from spiritual awareness and spiritual maturity. That no one has say over you. No one ever will have say over you. No one can ever take what is yours. Even if someone was to take your work and call it their own, and call whatever monies might be made in their own selfish agendas and their own selfish ways, that would be very short-lasted and short-lived, because the balancing of the universe will assure that that would be taken very quickly in whatever way it might, whether it be through loss of health, loss of abundance, loss of loss of a wherewithal. Whatever is done, spirit and the higher self and the soul will assure that that balance will be made, and that person's whose work it was will absolutely be credited. And that's about each person honoring and trusting the rebalancing in the energies and the universal laws that are on the planet and working within them benevolently. That's why there's no need to do any crimes against the soul. Crimes against the soul occur because there's so much imbalance. There's so much warped spirit that has not been fed and connected back to itself. It's seeking that drama and that ego drive for material gain and greed and title and all the stuff that, if anybody caught up in these experiences, the amount of damage and the amount of hypocrisy and the amount of thwarting and the amount of time and resources that have been done just on me alone, so unnecessary. And you look at it from the highest perspective on the people that have been hurt and held back and timelines affected, my own soul and my own spirit affected, along with the children that are connected with me affected, all of those that are affected in that experience. The all affects the all. Every now action affects the all. Anybody's hatred action affects the all. Everybody's loving action affects the all. And it was so unnecessary. So unnecessary. Most often than not, being the generous people that we are, we would have gladly combined and collaborated if we were asked in with integrity and with honor and pure intention to collaborate with joy and community. But because there was so much ego wounding about who they were within themselves and who they are within themselves to create such drama and trauma, so that they can get and they can receive and have control over energy and resources and whatever they thought they were in control of, just creating more and more dichotomy and more mess, really karmic mess. And each person has to clear out that mess. Each person is responsible for every part they played in it, because again, the all affects the all, and spirit and the universe and everybody will assure that balance is brought to order. It must be. That's part of every person's journey, to understand, well, that ego action and choice didn't work. What did I believe about myself, and how can I change to make new? Remember, it's always the infinity. Where did I choose from? What do I know now? And what can I create? That's why we manifest what we do. My particular experience and why I was going through my own reflection is, I said, why would I create something so horribly? Because for me not to have that spiritual deep connection with spirit, it was that humming vibration within me that was taken. It was a part of me that was taken. It was that deepest part of me, that most unique part of me that was taken. And spirit said, because you knew that you would always have access to it, and that I would rebuild you, and I would rebuild you with you. That it never goes out, it never goes away. But the trauma was so deep that there were blocks and veils, and there were energies placed around that vibrating essence that was spirit. is it never goes away. It will always be available. It will always be reawakened. It will always be regenerated. It will always be renewed. But for me, it felt like death had occurred over and over and over and over and over again. And that's why I still have PTSD. And I'm working through it. But how I work through it is to come forward authentically and come forward with my own creative expression, to be more and more me, because I just love being me now. Because I know I'm unique. I'm feeling good about who I am. I'm accepting and honoring that I'm unique. And really be lighthearted about it. I can be lighthearted about it now. And if there's people that find my energy so unique and incredible that they want to mimic me or copy me or take my work, in any way, it's all going to come back. I trust the universe and universal laws. God has always honored me and gifted me more than I could ever imagine. And I absolutely know my gifts will come back tenfold. My credit for all my work will come back tenfold. I trust that in the universe, and I trust that in God that is. And I'm coming forward as an expression to help others. And the work will show for itself, and the vibration will show for itself. There's not many people that could have gone through what I went through. And I went through it so that I could be a vibration for the children, for all the ways that they've been shut down and not heard, not valued and not honored, for their creative soul. For each and every one of you that are so creative, but you're not understanding or sure about how can I express myself? What do I do? So just know that you can. Start every day, little small steps and even grand steps if you want, how to create and express, create and express, create and express. Go beyond the beyond, become unknown, and then know yourself in new ways. Really get excited about being unknown. Wow, I'm unknown today. How can I know myself more deeply? How can I feel love for myself more deeply? So that's what we wanted to talk about, the deepest part of you. How can you today explore the deepest part of you, that part that has been unseen or veiled or hidden, those deepest parts of you that felt, okay, Spirit, what am I learning from this deepest pain? And how can I love this pain? How can I love the expression of it? How can I love how can I love the trauma into my story? And how can I make it make sense for me so I can grow beyond this? And loss is something that we all have challenged growing beyond. We're all going through, and we will continue to go through those that will leave us as we leave other people's lives in different ways. And again, they might experience it in something different. Every soul will experience loss, how they need to experience it. The story that each of us know as different areas of loss and how it occurs will be known to each individual in different ways. How you experience and how anyone experienced the same experience is different. Every person will have a unique perspective of any one experience, and that's meant to be, because you're each at different consciousness levels. How you perceive an event is different. How you perceive your own life experience will be different than the person that you even live with, because they're at a different consciousness level, and they're moving through their expression, how they see the world, how they feel the world in their own unique way. Especially if they're shut down and shut off, they will have no idea what you're going through. And that's why sometimes those of us that have been awakened for a while find it really, really challenging and difficult to deal with vibrational energies that are so steeped in density and harm and lack, because there's just on different vibrational dimensions. And it doesn't matter what is being said, there is that vibrational disconnect. But it's up to each person to thread the bridge so that there's compromise and then there's peace, so that no matter what vibration you're at, there is that working with energy. And that's building the bridge that everybody must work through. That not one way will be it, just as if the ninth dimensional Pleiadians have to work with us to thread and build the bridge of communication in different ways. Some of us has access to very high dimensions of energy and information, but then again, us in the body and the linear mind, the linear experience, we don't have the words for these high vibrational. So we've got to keep building bridges and going beyond and growing beyond and growing beyond and really pressing out so that we can begin to have new languages for those higher vibrational experiences. But we must go beyond. So what are you really excited to create yourself with today? How can you break free from what you did yesterday? How can you break free from knowing yourself deeply and loving yourself deeply? Take a deep breath. When you put your hand on your heart, your divine sacred heart, and you call God in. God in just means I'm calling with you, God, because God is already in you. God doesn't have to come in from anywhere, but the omnipresent field that is around you, your environment, you can call that God in to thread that breath. I'm one with God. I am one with God. I am one with God. I'm one with my higher self. I'm calling in my higher self, calling in my soul, calling in Gaia, calling in the universe, calling in all universal teams, calling in the light ships, calling in the fairies and the gnomes and the beings that want to connect with me. And within breath, and make sure you ground, because those of you that are not used to energy, and make sure you ground, ground, ground. See that cord going down from all your chakras, going down into the earth, and feel the earth bathing you. Call up any energies that need to be released, any densities. The beautiful sun is setting right now. I'm so lucky. Sun setting right there. And just ground and ground and ground. I want to talk about a few other special things that I've had happen to me. I wanted to share with you. So choosing for yourself to be sacred and co-creative, and just call in the energies for this co-creation and help yourself become an interdimensional, multidimensional, high vibrational communicator, because it's going to be different. And I want to prepare you, and I want to help practice with you. I want to help exercise with you, becoming this multidimensional being of great light. You're able to communicate with vibrational beings and consciousness in every direction. And it begins with you really feeling happy and excited. Because when you're happy and excited, those are the energies you're going to connect with. And so many of you know, for many years, I think it was the last year, so you can see my eyes. The last year that I think I was at KCOR, I channeled in with a being from the Sasani group. And I know the Sasani group from one of my very first awakenings was with Bashar. I was given a video, I found a video online, and I listened to a Bashar video, and I was just really taken, and I was just, activated instantly. And I remembered all this celestial stuff, but I didn't even know what celestial stuff was back then, or ETs were. It had been a part of my awakening. I had shut everything off, through my conformity and through my childhood and my growing up, and I shut everything off. And then through awakening, you just remember. That's what awakening is really about. You're activating parts of your soul memory. Your soul memory is who are you on other platforms of life, of dimensions, of bodies, of forms, of planets. And you remember, you just remember. It can be walking by a tree and all of a sudden you remember yourself being a fairy. You can have those activations when you're ready. It's always divinely timed. They always happen exactly when you're ready. Just when you're ready to heal from a deep trauma, you will have that deep trauma experience for you to heal it, for you to accept it, for you to acknowledge it. So you always have the strength and the availability. You always have the wisdom and the purpose to heal exactly what is coming forward. There's always divine design, and it's always perfect. So trust that. And we wrote about that in our book. So trust what you're experiencing. Trust the flow of what you're moving through. Try not to reach for prescriptions and medications to dumb and numb your pain, because it's meant to be felt. And you can feel it. It's okay to feel it. It's okay to feel pain. It's okay to feel trauma, and allow yourself to access, and it will come forward in its due time. It will come forward when you're ready. Make sure that you're also caring for your body, so you're not putting too much stress on your multidimensional systems, your sensory systems, your lymphatic systems, your intuitive and immune systems, by taking great care of yourself. And that's why self-care, we've been talking about it for 2 years, because there will be great traumas to process. We can't not to. We've been through dimensional beings for many, many lifetimes. And there's multidimensional wounds that we're healing from many planets. We're healing many, many traumas and many, many energies from subjugation and control. When I was going through some of my darkest times the last couple of years, one memory that I remembered, which is, I haven't written about it, and I'm not sure I can because it was so dark. I remembered this lifetime where I was a young child, and I was locked in a room, and there was people that were responsible for me that had controlled me, and they were using me for sexual gratification, and there was no way out of this room. And I remember feeling the deep pain of wanting to escape and wanting to get out of this room. And I remember what the room looks like. I still have visions of that room. And it was a part of me being okay now. When I first saw that vision and that download, it was linking me to the control that I was experiencing in this timeline. So there's always timeline of vibrational threads, not only for you, but also you can take on these vibrational downloads called imprints. Imprints can come in many ways. I've talked about it on many of my KCOR shows. So go back to my KCOR shows if you want to learn about that. Because there's different imprints that we each choose to take on. Those of us that are multidimensional and universally multidimensional, we can take on various imprints to heal dimensions and to heal universes and to heal galaxies within our lineage at a multidimensional manner. It can be an emotional imprint. It can be a vibrational imprint. It can be a socioeconomic imprint based on where that healing needs to be done and how you're able to heal it based on who you are, what your experience is, and how you're able to share that so that others that are going through it have that capability just to relax into it and know that once you're releasing it and feeling it, feel the pain, cry the pain, release that deep trauma from your cells, from your wounds, from your chakras. And you can do it with very beautiful, soft and gentle movement of the body and taking healing yoga and other practices that are very slow and gentle on the body, salt baths, being on Gaia, doing these practices on the earth, and just coaxing and being smooth and soothing with your body as these releases are done. That's why, again, it's really important to know what your ascension cycle is. When have you had most of the releases? And mark them down on a calendar, journal it. Was it the 6th of the month or the 8th of the month or the 10th of the month? Because you'll notice that everything spirals in now. So as you're going through a deep trauma release or your dark night of the soul, you'll notice that it happens on that timeline, on that timeline, on that time, because there was a very big, profound trauma that happened. And it's reverberating to all dimensional factors of you. That's the time, that's the moment of now. That's why now is so very powerful. Your forgiveness now heals all vibrational wounds, whether it's a galactic war, whether it's on another vibrational earth, whether it's another vibrational aspect of you, another body of you, you're healing it now and you're forgiving it now. Ripples all timelines. That's why we're talking about what we're talking about is healing, why it's so important. Our psychosis will change. How we're healing the psyche, how we're healing our multidimensional bodies through psychology and psychiatry, that will all change because we're needing to heal it in a multidimensional way. We carry these wounds with us in a multidimensional manner, and they're imprints and they're packets of information that are very, very traumatic, held in certain places of our multidimensional bodies. It could be held in the emotional body. It could be held in the spiritual body. It could be held in the physical body, but they all affect the all. That's why it's understanding who we are as multidimensional beings. So many, many years ago, when I was first awakening, Bashar was one of my most magical videos that reminded me of who I was, and that was an activation of my own awakening. I'm just going to move over so we can catch some of the sun. And part of that awakening was to remind me of who I was as a celestial being, was to remind me of my interactions with celestials. And to know that I had communication access with celestials, for me to remember certain visions and certain imprints, although nobody taught me about healing. I didn't know about healing. Nobody taught me about what it was like to have a vision. I knew that these experiences were coming to me, and it was really trial and error, me asking spirit through my meditations, what does this mean for me? That's how you start healing your body. When you see a vision or you have a dream that's very unnerving or very exciting, journal it and write it down and start asking spirit, what does this mean for me? That's part of your healing process. That's doing the work. And I've been doing this for a long, long time. 15 years. I've been doing this in a very dedicated and devoted way. Every morning I would wake up before everybody and I would do my practice. And it's just become second nature. Once you become fully activated, your third eye and your sensory systems, you don't necessarily have to journal your communication with spirit because it's an ongoing communication with your higher self. You become harmonized with your higher self in a way that you don't have to sit and meditate to hear the answers. You just are the answer. So that's the difference in your awakening process, and why sometimes people have a hard time believing you because they're not there yet. They're completely shut down still. So they don't understand the whole process about being your higher self. They don't understand about what do you mean you speak to trees, because their chakras are closed. They don't understand spirit communication. And that's okay because they will have their awakening. Everybody does, just at different paces. And maybe they're not meant to speak to trees. Maybe they're meant to speak to cows, you know. Everybody will have their own unique offering and have that be okay. There's no rule, just like there was no rules for me to figure out how I knew just to heal. Those activations came because I had those healing capabilities in other realms, and I was coded with it because I was here to help people heal through dark night of the soul, to heal through deep traumas, through deep wounds and deep psychosis energies. Because some of these traumas were really profound, like seeing civilizations get harmed, being abused and locked away over and over and over again, and how utterly detrimental it is to every fiber of a multidimensional being. And that's why I felt that, because that being that was in that realm and in that vibrational experience, that little girl couldn't escape. And that's the way that had linked me to that similar wound that I was feeling in my reality. I couldn't escape, no matter how nice I tried to be, how honoring I tried to be, how much communication I had about how harmful what was going on with me. There was nobody listening and hearing that, because all they cared about was taking. All they cared about was their private agenda. And that was the very similar feeling that I had in that room. They didn't care about me, no matter how much I said it hurt, no matter how much I said it was damaging to the psychology of me. How you go literally insane because everything you know to be spirit and everything you know to be who you are, you just constantly get damaged and abused. And that's when people literally go insane, because there's so much abuse and there's no one hearing these people. And so that's about the honoring and listening to that inner voice and being it for yourself, being that father and that mother yourself. No matter how much you are abused, you will get support and you will get help, because somebody will listen. I will listen. And because nobody deserves to be controlled and put into such harm and such danger because of selfish people's agendas, because they're not healed. And what we've been saying, that heal your own wounds so they're not going to become somebody else's. So isn't that awesome? We just had the sun go down. Isn't that amazing? We had the sunset together. Isn't that fun? And so my communication with many of you know, I talked about it in many of my radio shows, Bashar. And so the last couple of days, there's been this being come through from the Sasani group. And so I'm excited to share that with you. And I wanted to do some, just to kind of close this off, because it's been a long, but there was so much that we covered here for healing, and how creative expression is so important for your healing. And I'm so happy that you're joining me. So happy that you're here. I'm sending so much love and energy and light to you to be creatively expressive and to be uniquely who you are, to know that you're needed and loved, to know that you can transcend trauma, whether you're feeling like you're getting visions or downloads or dreams that are just undescribable. Try to go within and start journaling. What did I see? What does this mean for me? How do I feel? Because remember, you're healing the emotional body, and the emotional body is connected to all of these traumas and wounds. And suss it out one by one. Take it slow, small steps. Take it one by one feeling at a time. I felt hopeless. I felt helpless. There was nobody there for me when I had that dream. Process that energy through journaling. You can get up and dance it out. You can get up and sing it, and you can go somewhere safe and express that energy so that it's not becoming another person's wound by careless and reckless actions, or careless and reckless choices, or degrading choices that you choose to use on your body, like overeat, drink, addictions, sex, where you're treating those traumas with just more trauma because you're not dealing with the wound. And so heal the wound so that it doesn't become another's. That's getting off the karma wheel and clearing your own karma. So this being that I connected with, and I'm so grateful. And so we're just gonna just take a deep breath, dear lighted ones, and place your hands on the earth if you're outside. So if you'd like to, from now on, when you're listening to these videos, go outside to a park or maybe in your backyard. If you have a backyard or if you have a front yard, go into the yard and just put your little blanket down and get connected. I'm going to intend to open myself up to the vibrations of the Holy Earth. Thank you, Holy Spirit. And there are guides and there are beings and my ancestors. I'm calling them forward to harmonize who I am as one. Take a breath. I'm intending to connect with all the angels and all the masters and all the beings that are with me in this moment right now. And they're going to help me align who I am with my highest version of me, so that I may create expressively. I may offer myself expressively and uniquely. Unapologetically, I am creatively, expressively me. And I love this planet and I love who I am in this planet. And I'm not going to hold back anymore. I choose to be me fully and authentically. I choose to step forward in the vibration of me. My vibration is unique. My name is unique. When I say my name, it feels unique and it feels loving. I exalt who I am. Take a deep breath, and feel yourself aligning with who you are, your deepest part of you. Align, align, align. I'm aligned with me. I'm aligned with me. I only want to align with me. I only want to align with me. Feel into becoming you is your greatest gift. Becoming me is my greatest gift. Becoming me is my greatest gift. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Thank you, Holy Spirit. When you hug a tree, you're being reminded that you are your greatest gift. And Gaia is showing that through you, through the energy of the tree loving you. When you love yourself and you're honoring yourself as your own greatest gift, that is true self-love and that is true self-empowerment. And there is nothing outside of you that can give that to you. No amount of money, no amount of things, no other person can give that to you. No title, no nothing. That's why the inner work is so important. And it's vibrational and it can be felt, and nothing and no one can mimic you. Nothing and no one can take that from you. Nothing. That is your unique threading with God. So breathe in one more time, dear lighter ones. So this activation will be about authenticity, authenticity of the creative expression, the deepest part of who you are. Intend to get to know, intend to explore, intend to discover. What is the deepest part of you? Go into every chakra, go into every cell. Just explore your consciousness. My consciousness is within every cell, and my cells are alive and well. Just see your consciousness not as one thing, but as infinite number of dots, beautiful cellular dots throughout every fiber of your being, every layer of skin, every cell, every hair. You are all that you are, consciousness within and without. You can expand your consciousness to the trees, to the ground, to the grass. Spread love, spread love, spread love. My consciousness is within all things. I am love, I am love, I am love. So now we're going to focus on your heart communication, because you really communicate through your heart. Bring all your consciousness to your divine sacred heart. Call it in. I'm asking my divine soul for help, the wisdom of my soul, the strength of my soul. Please assist me to align my consciousness to my heart. For my heart is the focal point of all communication, and I'm practicing and I'm exercising being more me. I'm practicing and I'm exercising being the multidimensional version of godliness of me. I am the deepest part of me. And I'd like to communicate with Spirit right now. I love you, Spirit. I'm so happy to be with you. Feel yourself being joyful, dear lighted ones. Feel yourself being joyful. So excited to connect with Spirit. Excited to connect with the planet. Tickle Gaia, tickle Gaia. I love you, Gaia. Tickle, tickle, rainbow tickles, rainbow tickles. Feel happy, dear lighted ones. This is the energy you want to be in to connect with Spirit. I love you, Spirit. Thank you. I want to connect with the divine highest being and have your higher self and your teams and your angels and Lord Michael. I see a thread right now, a thread. Lord Michael's calling in a thread of connection with me because they're helping me access greater heights of information and wisdom from beings of light. Thank you. And I'm going to tell you about a group of beings that they had me connect with. And first I wanted to tell you, so keep reaching and just being there in a gentle pose, just a gentle pose, just feeling into the energies that are connecting with you. Your higher self will always, 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 always bring in the highest and the best, meaning that if you're meant to connect with a Pleiadian because it's your sister that wants to connect with you, then you will have that Pleiadian connection. It's another version of you. So just know that. You don't have to wonder who it is. Your higher self will always bring in who is meant to connect with you in that moment. And it might not be someone you think, and it might not be the ego's way of thinking, well, that's why I wanted to connect with. Your ego is not in charge. Your higher self will pull in the exact person you're meant to connect with. So just know that. You're always going to be connected with the being and the consciousness that you're meant to connect with, and it might not be who your ego thinks it will. It will be something that God will make sure is magical and magnificent, because that's God. And so in my connection the other day, I was connected with this being that I've talked about before, but it's been a while since I've connected with her, and her name is Borelai. And Borelai is what I was shown. Now, whether it is or not, it's just how I'm receiving it because of my work and my experience with Bashar and how it was so really lovely, and my connection with the Sasani people and my memories there. And I can put my consciousness there and I can see the world and I can see them being their Sasani selves. That's how consciousness can travel. And so Borelai is female version, the divine feminine of Bashar. And that's how I see her. She is a version of a part of me and the consciousness that I've agreed with and contracted with for the assistance for first contact. And so she's going to be assisting me and helping me communicate and prepare, along with many others, divine feminine energies and how to begin creating and rewriting fifth dimensional divine feminine and what that means for our planet and how they've moved through ascension, because they're slightly higher in vibration for us and they're here as helpers for us in that transition. So she's been with me for the past couple of days and I've done some channeled notes. And there's also been some beings that have been with me that we're going to channel in just a second. I don't want this to be too long, but there are some beings that are brand new that I wanted to bring in. And I talked about on my radio show a little while ago. And they came through as the giraffe beings. The giraffe beings, they've given themselves that name for our use because that we know and understand what a giraffe is. So many of these consciousness beings will give names that are familiar to us. So don't write it off, because they have ways of communicating with us so that we can connect images and energies and symbolisms in our culture. Different cultures will have different names and symbolisms. That's why if you have a group of Pleiadian consciousness of Pleiades are changing all the time. So a group of Pleiadian group consciousness, if you're having a person from India channel, they'll give different prescriptions and symbols and symbolisms and energies than you would an American or a Canadian, because we have different symbolisms and they mean something different to us. So it's all still right. It's all still good. It's not making one person more right and one person not. Every person will channel uniquely. Every person will have symbolisms that are meant strictly and uniquely to them, because every consciousness story is different. I have universal multiverse experience. So how I channel information and energies is going to be different than everybody else. That's why, again, we say, release all stress about comparing yourself. Comparing is your lack of self. If you're continually comparing and putting so much focus on outer, you're not competitive with somebody and you're not measuring up to somebody, those are your own lack of self. So go within and heal that. Because you're not meant to channel like everybody else. You're not meant to be like anybody else. You're meant to channel your own specific, unique expression. So heal the wounds first. Otherwise, you're going to run yourself in painful cycles. That's not self-love. So really move within and let go of those ego dramas and those ego